Hi, this is Lee Phillips. I want to talk to you for 2 seconds about a trust that we often call the Children's Trust. Actually, you don't need children's, but it's usually a trust where the children are the beneficiary. Anybody could be the beneficiary. If you're rich, I could be the beneficiary. Be okay with me. But at any rate, you set up an irrevocable trust under section usually 2503, 2503B, 2503C. This is the section of the IRS code that defines these types of trusts. So you set up the trust and then you move assets into the trust for the benefit of a third party. You can't be the beneficiary. That would be a self-settled trust. Generally, that's a no. We talk about self-settled trusts in one of the other YouTube videos. But when you move assets into the trust, that is a gift. You are giving those assets to the children or to the beneficiaries, whoever that is. That means you've now triggered a gift tax. We're not nearly as worried about the gift tax today because the gift tax and the estate tax are unified taxes. That's another YouTube video. But we move the assets over and it's a gift to the beneficiaries. If we keep it under the annual exclusion amount, which is going up all the time, it's $14,000-ish now, then we don't have to worry about the gift tax. However, in order to make it a gift, which we actually want in this case, then the assets that move into the trust have to be subject to the control of the beneficiaries immediately. So what we do is we write the beneficiaries a letter that says, oh, by the way, Dad's contributed all this money or this property into the trust. You have the right, Mr. Beneficiary, kid, to take that money, that property out of the trust. You can do that anytime in the next 90 days. And this letter that we write is what's called a crummy letter. Yes, it's a crummy letter. Crummy was the family that took the IRS to court and established the fact that I could make a gift as long as I gave the beneficiary the right to have access to the property during a window of time. If they don't take the property out during the 90 days or whatever the window is, then it locks down and it's now in the trust. And you can always take your kid aside and say, you know, I'm giving you all of this money. You can take it out anytime in the next 90 days, but you're going to be a good kid. You're not going to take it out, are you? Because we're going to give you more money next year. So you can kind of see how that one works. It's called a crummy letter. It has to be written within the 90-day period so that by the end of the year we've met the 90 days that we could have taken the property out. So it has to be within the year that we're claiming the gift. So you give property to the trust. That means that property is gone. It's not yours anymore. It's the trust's. You don't get the benefit of the property anymore. The beneficiaries get the benefit of the property. But that property is now not subject to your creditors. As long as it wasn't a fraudulent conveyance when you put it into the trust, that's now outside of your creditor's reach. They can't get to it. And it's outside of your estate. It's gone. You gave it away. So when you die, these assets aren't in your estate anymore. What we usually do is we take an asset that has a small value, but it's going to blossom into a big value. You know, if you get Microsoft stock when it's 15 cents, you put it into the trust and then it blossoms to $100 a share. That's a good one. It's what's called an estate tax freeze. We've frozen the value at a small amount and then it's blossomed outside of the estate into a big amount. So it works really, really well if I have an asset that I know isn't worth a lot now, but it's going to be worth a fortune later. So it protects the assets from my creditors and it gets it outside of my estate. It is also a way to do what we call shift income to the children. If I have a rental unit and I put it into the trust, then the rent goes to the children and they pay tax on it at their rate, unless we run into the kiddie tax. That's another story for another YouTube, and all this and that and the other. But we use it to freeze the estate, get property out of the estate, shift income, because the kids pay income tax at their rate, which is hopefully a lower rate. Now I've got to give it to you, and I'll let you in on a little secret that's in the YouTube video. It's getting harder to do this because Obama made it so that we have to have children up to age 26 in many cases. Yeah, that's a kid. Well, they still live at home. So at any rate, the children, the kiddie tax is an issue. But free from the creditors, outside of the estate, works actually very well. The catch is you can't be the beneficiary. What powers can you have? Can you be the trustee and decide what the beneficiaries get? There's two issues to this. One's an estate tax issue where you can't have any incidents of ownership. That means you can't control it, you can't say who gets it, you can't do a lot of stuff. That's the estate tax issue. The other issue is the asset protection issue, and you can have more control as trustee or over these assets and still have it be protected from your estate, or from your creditors, than you can if you're trying to get it outside of your estate. So how much control you have over it depends upon somewhat what you're trying to do, estate taxes or asset protection. This is Lee Phillips. We've been talking about what we call a children's trust or a grandchildren's trust, or a trust established under Section 2503 of the IRS Code.